So Deepak says application is failed, right? So the failure or the defect or the issue or a mistake what we have found in the live environment or in the production environment is called as a failure. Do you get? Are you getting me?
Yes.
Defect,
Yes.
bug, defect, bug. Okay. Once again, see here. Error means the mistake in coding. The mistake we found in the mistake in coding is called as error. The error found by a tester while testing is called defect. Okay. The defect logged by a tester, and when the developer accepts the defect, it is called as bug. Okay. So the bug which we found in production or the defect which we found in production environment is called as a failure. Okay. So in practical, these two terms should be normally used. So there would not be any differentiation between defect and a bug. Sometimes they use, see, for example, I'm saying I am working on in two teams, in two agile teams I'm working. So in one agile team, I use both defect and bug as the same mode where there is no difference. But in another agile team, the scrum master don't accept both as same. He want to differentiate it. So uh, there how he is differentiating is in the bug when it is being found itself in the program itself related to the user story itself related to the functionality, it is called as a bug. Or it is when it is outside the functionality, he is saying it as a defect which need to be tested later. So there would be different variations. Okay. So just like that. So you need to understand this basic this difference. In interview, they will definitely ask this question. This is one important question. Error, defect, bug, failure. Okay, clear here. So now we are
Yes, clear.
reporting this one. So how we will report? Now a developer tester has found a defect. Tester found a defect. So how he will report? So for reporting this one, one second. Okay. So we have a different one template would be there for reporting the defect. So I'll show you the defect template. It is, yeah. So this is how the defect template would be there. So he will report the defect, defect number, application name, screen name, screenshots you need to assign. So see, I'll practically in defects, how you write the defects is, so in practical, when you use a tool, what are the fields you used to be? One is description. Okay, description of the defect. Next one, steps to reproduce. Steps to reproduce. Steps to reproduce means, see, you have raised a defect. How the developer will understand how you have got the defect? You need to understand it. So you need to produce the steps means, so now you have in login functionality you got a defect, uh, saying you got a defect saying when in login functionality when I'm using ttc at the rate, and I'm using star mark also and exclamatory mark also and 1 2 3, then the application is getting login. But this when you star mark should not be used. Okay, this is not in the requirement. So they have given a special characters as at the rate and exclamatory mark symbol only. But when you use star mark also, it we are going to home page, means the test case is getting passed. Application is getting login. So that is an issue. So how do you report? How do the developer understand it, and how do he believe? So what you do is you write the steps to reproduce. One, enter data, enter username with TTC at the rate star exclamatory mark 123. Okay, or like if it is specifically like this you can write, or else you can mention that enter username with using star. Okay, to enter password 3, click on login. 4, verify the result. This is how you write the test results. Steps to reproduce. Next one would be expected result. Expected result. Actual result. Screenshots any. Okay. So these points would explain the developer clearly how you have produced the defect. How you have produced the defect. See, practically there would be a scenarios, there would be a situation where when you are testing for a particular application, for a um, particular point that if you are doing testing 10 times, it gets passed, test case is getting passed. 11th time it is failing, and again 22nd time it is failing, again 33rd time it is failing. Okay, so means there is a mistake, there is an issue, but you are unable to reproduce it, or you are unable to showcase. At that time, you need to make sure, you need to take screenshots, you need to make sure 100 times. So those such defects are more important. So you need to work, you need to test many times. So you should not leave one time you enter the valid data test cases, and okay, it is working fine now. Okay, you should not leave that like that. Whenever you need to do on executing multiple times, 10 times, 15 times, if you have time, so that you in different methods, you need to think in different methods and you need to do it. Then only you will get an issue. See, for example, I'll say one example. If you have heard or not, I'm not sure. Some couple of years back, there was a scam happened in Citibank. Citibank. So how it happened is a developer has developed the coding in such a manner that for every transaction in a Citibank, 1 cent or 1 paisa, in our terms, rupees terms, 1 paisa will deposit to his account. 1 paisa means, see, you see many times when you do transactions with a credit card or debit card or in online, you do pay, you will get the amount as 27 rupees 56 paisa. Okay, so you don't consider this 56 paisa. Okay, you just say okay, 27 rupees 56 paisa, right? Okay, so when you do this transaction, this 56 paisa becomes 57 paisa in your end of the building, means 1 paisa has been deposited to the developer's account. See, 1 lakh transactions per day, how much paisa? 1 lakh paisa. Okay, 1 lakh rupees across the world. How much money is getting? Nobody is finding this 1 paisa. That that mistake is happened due to testing fault. Okay, so you need to test in such a minor things, very minor things you need to cover, you need to test it. Okay, okay, so where we are now, defect reporting, right? So in this manner we need to report the defects. Defect template, okay. Okay, so now we have understood the defect. So what is there is a defect management for this. Like while doing the defects, how we need to discover a defect. After discovering, what we need to do. After, how we need to categorize those defects. How the resolutions comes here, and how the defect is being resolution is being done for the defect, and how do verification, what are the different steps for this. Okay, so this is a defect management. There is a defect management process. Defect management process. See, these terminologies doesn't should not fear you, because defect management, that is nothing but, see here it's very simple. Like, we find a defect, we categorize that whether it is higher priority or severity, and based on that the developer will resolve it. We verify it, we close the defect, and we report the defect, the reporting, defect reporting. Okay, this small cycle happens, but for that they have kept a name. They have kept a name as defect management process. So we see one. We'll go through one by one for the defect management cycle, management process, what it is exactly. So what they will explain. So first one is discover. Here we have seen the discover. Okay, where it is? Yeah, here. So discover. What we discover here in discover phase, team has discover as many. Team has to discover as many defects as possible before the end customer could discover. Means, before it happens, a failure happens. We need to find more defects. We need to find more defects. So first we discover the defect. So detect the defect before releasing to the customer. See, if a defect has been found in production environment or in the live environment, it is a really tough situation for a tester. Okay, remember that, very tough situation would be there for tester. See, if the defect happens very rarely, which cannot be identified in the testing, or which could not be identified, that is fine, we can give an explanation. But a very basic thing has been getting failed in the production environment, means testers would definitely should take the blame, and it costs a lot. It costs a lot for the tester and the testing team. Remember that one. So you need to discover the defects, and report them. Report the defects. Report the defect to the development team. The developer accepts the or rejects the defect. Okay, if he accepts, it will become a bug. So what he will do? He will accept the bug. He will accept the defect. Means that what we have discovered is correct. Okay, see, there is no rule that a developer should accept our defect. Okay, he can reject it also, because it may be out of the scope. It may not be the functionality what he is working, or you are overthinked on the application, out of the scope. You have overthinked, maybe the conditions to reject the defect. Okay, so now in discovery phase, what we do is we detect the defect and we report it to the development team. Okay, fine, we have done that. We have found the defect. Now next, what we need to categorize it. How we categorize the defect? Okay, so the defect is being categorized based on the criticality. Okay, criticality: high, medium, low. So if the defects need to be fixed immediately, it may, because it may cause a great damage to the product. Means, uh, when you go to the home page, for example, you are navigating, uh, then at one place you see that when you click on a link, the application is getting crashed. That is very high critical one. Okay, then that is a critical functionality which need to be fixed immediately. Then the high would be the impacts of the product. It would be the main feature. It is impacting the main features of the product. And medium would be minimal deviation. There is a need to be fixed, but it is not that much very high priority. We can just take a look and understand and do fix it. Low means very minor defect which does not affect the product. Which does not affect the product. Okay, so we are categorizing the defects. So in categorizing also uh, there is one important point how we categorize, that is called as severity and priority. Okay, defect, severity and priority. Now, okay, so severity and priority. So as we have mentioned here, we are categorizing the defects. That's fine, which is a critical defect, which is a low defect. See, this criticality, these all will be defined under the severity and priority. We categorize them to severity and priority. Why severity and priority means, there may be a situation, there may be a scenario where the defect is severity, but it may not be that much prior. Or the means, see, for example, in an application, logo is there, logo is displaying wrong. Okay, means there is a color contraction is there in the logo, or logos in the logo name is spelling mistake is there. Okay, that is a priority one, but it is not a severity like that. Okay, so what is a defect, severity, priority? So defect, severity describes the seriousness of the defect, how serious the defect is, means at what stage it is, at what level of impact it is showing. That is a severity. Severity is been categorized into critical, high, medium, low. So critical means complete shutdown of the process, or application is getting crash. Okay, or payments, when we do payment, it is going to another level. If I deposit to Deepak's account, amount is going to Mohan's account. Okay, that is a high, this one. Those all are very critical things. Okay, next, high means high severe defects. It is highly severe defect and collapse the system. However, certain parts of the system remain functional. So application is working, but if we navigate inside, for example, uh, we go to the amazon.in. Okay, now here when I enter it and I log in it, when I go to mobile section, it is working fine. So the problem is, when I go to electronics section and I select washing machines, the application is getting crashed. This is high, but this is not a critical. Okay, so remaining all are working, right? Only washing machine section is not working. Okay, so this is what is called as severity, high level. Medium means it can cause some undesirable behavior, but the system is still functioning. Undesirable behavior. Undesirable means, see, now I selected this one. When I click on this, and when I go to the quantity of 6, it is showing as I want to take the quantity 6 and I'm going to add to the cart, but in the cart it is showing as only 3 or only 1. Okay, this is a medium level defect, means uh, some undesirable behavior is happening, it is not working as expected, so you can mention it as a medium level. Low level means it does not cause any major breakdown of the system. See here, nothing is happening, just you see that this image is not displaying, or the color contrast is not proper, or some spelling mistake, one is capital and one is small. Mostly the low level mistakes would be UI mistakes, like front end appearance, cosmetic changes would be the UI low level defects. Okay. Now, are you clear about severity? Priority. So priority. So priority means the importance of the defect, how important it is. It explains the priority. And priority defect priority states the order in which defect should be fixed. So here, how we explain the priority is, so priority of the defect would be categorized into this way: P1, P2, P3. So P1 means very high priority, P2 means medium level priority, P3 means low level priority. So based on these priorities, we will fix the defects. High level means should be resolved as soon as possible as it affects the system severely. Medium level means normal course of development activities, defect should be resolved. Means like they can in the next fix they can solve it. Low level means it doesn't show any impact. Okay, you can just, it is not that much serious. It is irritating. Irritating means see, when you click the login button two times, three times, then only it is logging in. In fact, actually, login means it is a severe, high severe only. For example, I'm saying when you click the button two times, then only you are getting the navigating to the next page. That is low priority. Means the application is getting irritating, making you irritate a low, like it is loading slowly. You need to fix it, but not that much priority. Okay. So this is a difference between defect and priority. Now, I'll explain you with some examples now. Actually, so how do we identify? Actually, see, there is a defect. Good. You have found a defect. Very good. But how do you identify that whether the defect is severity or priority? How do you identify it? So the basic tip of identifying the priority severity is critical, non-critical, low, urgent. Okay. So the key features that does not work are high priority, high severity. They are critical and urgent. Okay. See, features that is rarely used does not work. Features that are rarely used, we use very rarely, but that is not working. Priority is low, but criticality is high. Means if by mistake if a user goes to that section and click on it, that is getting blasted. So that need to be fixed. It's high critical, but priority would be low. Means see, how you define priority is low means which need to be fixed. Now you got two issues. Developer got two issues. One is with urgent and critical, means high priority, high severity. One you got with low priority, high severity, means uh, low priority. It's a very critical one. Then first he will fix this one, then he will go for this one. Okay, this is how you need to differentiate it. And see, there is a company logo is in wrong color. The company should be logo should be red color, but it is displaying as pink color. So this is not that much critical, but it is very urgent because it impacts the users, it impacts the business stakeholders, it impacts a share market, it may impact something. It is. So they what they do is they take it as a priority, urgent, high priority, but not a critical one because see he got two more issues. He got one is very urgent and critical issue. He got very priority is low, but high critical he got high priority but low severity he got. Now what he will fix? First he will work on this one. Second he will work on this one. Third he will work on this one. Okay. This is how you need to differentiate. See, the caption on an image is written in the wrong font. So this is non-critical, non-priority, low priority, low severity. Okay, spelling mistakes also not like font is not equal or across the application page the font is displaying wrong. Then that is low priority and low severity. Okay. So we see some more examples. For example, a logo is there for a shipment website. Okay, that is severity is low, and priority is high. Okay, when we can say high severity and low priority, high severity and low priority. See, now you are booking a flight. Okay, in website booking, there is a issue in the reservation section to a particular reservation. Okay, so like this, a reservation to a particular category somewhere, very rarely used feature is there. That is called as high severity and low priority. Okay, so are you clear about high priority and low severity?
Yes.
Any questions? Because see, one thing is this is a must question. How important smoke test and sanity test? That much important is priority and severity. You should not neglect this one. You must remember. Okay. So we are clear about high priority and high severity, right? Severity and priority, right?
Yes.
Good. Now, so what all we have completed? Now we have worked on discover. We have discovered the defect. We have categorized the defect. Now we need to resolve it. Okay. So defect resolution. Defect resolution. Okay, so now we need to work on resolution. So resolution means after receiving the defect from the testing team, development team what they do is they conduct a meeting to fix the defects. So generally these meetings all may happen or may not happen, but practically, but to understand the system, to understand the cycle, we need to learn all these things. That's all. Okay, they conduct the meeting on the defects and they fix it. Means why they conduct a meeting means see, in agile team you have three developers, three testers. So for example, we say Mohan and Deepak are developers and Vinith and Karnakar are testers. Okay, they are developed. They have so both have raised the defects. Two defects they have raised. So Deepak is still working on his application. Okay, Mohan has completed his story. Mohan has completed his development. He's ideal. So what they do is they he assigns the defects priority and severity based on priority and severity. He may assign Karnakar's defects to Mohan and Vinith's defects to the Deepak after Deepak has completed. If still Deepak is working, he will assign those defects to Mohan only. So to assign the defects to the team members, to share those team members, they will conduct the meeting. And also what they do is to accept or not, to accept the defect or not, to reject it, or to verify if the defect what they raised is a duplicate defect, which is already reported by Jaya in the last sprint. Consider Jaya has already reported the defect. If it is then it is a duplicate defect, whether it is a duplicate defect or not, or like they need more information on the defect, whether the defect is clear. They will have a meeting and they will discuss all these things and they will assign to the developer and they will fix as per the requirements provided. Okay, this is how defect resolution will happen. Okay, so now defect after defect resolution, what we do? We verify the defects. Okay, we verify the defects. Verification would be done. After verification, we close the defects. So verification means in resolution part and in verification part, how we do is there is a defect life cycle is there. One important one bug life cycle or defect life cycle. take the screenshot. Yeah. So defect life cycle. So see, now we are resolution and we are at verification stage. So resolution. So resolution and verification means what the tester will do, how the defect cycle will travel, how the defect will travel in our testing environment between developer and the tester is, see, developer has raised, a tester has raised a defect, okay? He raised a defect and he assigned the defect to the, there would be a protocol. See, there would be a protocol for this. Basically, a defect should first assign to the development manager. Okay, development manager would assign to his team who want to work on it. That is one method, but practically that won't happen because it's a lot of time consuming. So what they do is now, as I said, for example, Deepak has developed the login application. So Vinit has found the defect. So what Vinit he will do? Then he will assign the defect to the Deepak only. He will assign the defect to the Deepak. So what Deepak will do, and he will assign the defect to the Deepak and he will keep in open position. So there will be different positions for the defect. He will keep in open position. Now what Deepak will do, he will conduct a meeting with his team, or if he is having a good experience in business knowledge, he will only go through the defect. He will go through the defect and he will see, hey, this defect has already been raised by Jaya in the last sprint. Now why again this Vinit has been raised, and he will mark it as duplicate. He will mark it as a duplicate and close the defect. Okay, so means the defect will be fixed later, or that somebody is working on that defect already. So it is a duplicate defect. Or else, second type is Deepak will go through the defect and he will see this is out of scope, or such scenarios doesn't exist in real time. Such scenarios doesn't exist in real time. Scenarios means uh, which are impossible, which are not at all. See, the really worst case, like you are entering an email ID, you need to enter Deepak at the rate gmail.com, for example. So what Vinith has done is Deepak at the rate, four at the rate symbols he has given gmail.com, and it is allowing, for consider it is allowing. So do we say it is a defect or this one? So nobody will enter five at the rate symbols, right? I'm saying for example, so he will reject it. Deepak has rejected the defect and he will close. There is another scenario. One more scenario happened. What is like uh, the defect what Vinit has found is it's not in this cycle. See, you need to fix it. That is definitely a defect. We need to fix it, but that doesn't come under this cycle. That need to be fixed in next release, in the next cycle, or in the next phase. So what he do is that he mark it as a deferred. He mark it as deferred, and then he keep it to the he assign it to the next release. Okay, so these are some stages of a defect. Okay, now what Vinit has raised the defect is a valid defect. So what Deepak will do is he will work on it. He will fix it. He will fix the defect, have it, and again he will reassign to Vinit to retest it. And Deepak says to Vinit, I have fixed the defect here. You once retest it and let me know whether it is working as expected or not. Means, see, you have written the expected result. Okay. So what Vinit will do is he will retest the application, retest the defect what he has raised. And if he finds it is working, he verifies, retest it. And if he finds it is working as fine, as expected, he will close the defect. But if you see again an issue, like it is not working as expected, there is some more issues there, then he will mark it as reopened. Reopened in the, he will reopen it, reopen the defect and again assign to the developer. Okay, this is how the defect life cycle happens. Okay, so I'll explain once again. One defect would be raised by a tester. He will assign it to the developer. Developer goes through the defect and he finds it as a valid. If he finds it as a valid defect, He fixes the defect and assigns to the tester to retest it. And once it is retested and working as expected, it will be closed. If it is a duplicate defect, developer will mark it as a duplicate and close it. If it is a out of the scope or not a valid functionality, he will reject and close it. And if he sees the defect is need to be fixed, but it need to be fixed in the next release, which is not in this release, then he will defer it and move it to the next release. Clear, guys? Clear about defect life cycle?
Okay.
So, anything, any doubts, any questions? Very important. Very important defect life cycle. Good. Very good. So, defect life cycle. Okay. Now, what we are doing as per our this one. So, verification is done. So, defect we have closed the defect. Everything is done, or we are reporting the defect. Okay. Defect reporting need to be done. Okay. So, at the time of defect reporting, what we do is we do the defect metrics. Guys, if this meeting ends, again log in with the same meeting ID. Okay. So defect metrics. See, what is the defect metrics? Now we have raised about 84 defects. Only 64 are fixed actually. It means 20 defects which are reported are wrong or by mistake. Then how can we measure? How can we measure how much? uh, how many defects are rejected, how much leakage is there, or how much how the tester is doing, how many are valid defects, how many are rejected defects, how many are duplicate defects. Okay, see, at testers capability is measured. Measuring scale of a tester is number of defects he logs. Okay, whatever may be the defects, there would be a review meeting, management review meeting, where they take all the employees list, testers list, developers list, and they will find out how many defects a tester has found out. If he found out around 100 defects, which are 100 out of 100 are valid defects, and in that 60% are very critical and high, then he is doing very good testing. Okay. So how do we measure if there is any difference between the fixed and so for that we do defect metrics, defect rejection ratio, defect leakage ratio. So for example, in the above scenario, if you see 20 defects are there, 20 defects are rejected, reported wrong, means 23% of the defect rejection ratio is 23%. DRR. Okay, defect rejection ratio is 23%. Means you have raised 84 defects, out of which 20 are rejected, 20 are wrong. Means your defect rejection ratio is 23%. For example, uh, if you are detected 64 defects, for example, the application has 64 defects, means there are around 64 defects are there in the application, but testing team has detected only defined or discovered, testing team has discovered only 44 defects, they missed 20 defects. Okay, that is called defect leakage ratio.